Hello everybody and welcome back to the Bayonetta 2 walkthrough. It is time for more extras. This time we are finishing off first climax with Jeanne. So as with when we finished third climax, we are finishing with chapters 13 through 16. Thankfully this is all going to move a hell of a lot quicker because I don't need to show you most of this because I mean it's all very easy. And to be perfectly honest, the only thing that I'm interested in showing you is kind of the climaxes and any little bits of Noatun that we come across, which isn't going to be much, I have to say. The only new bit of Noatun is when... Actually no, not even then. I was about to say there's a new bit of Noatun when we summon Omni, but it's certainly not the case. Which is a bit disappointing, because what was really cool was that when you summoned Queen Sheba in Bayonetta 1, Jeanne and Bayonetta had different kind of incantations to summon her. So Bayonetta's was Telok Vovim, Aglaos Tabaod, Avavago, which was the fallen one of the moon, of darkness, let her be governed by that which thunders. And Jeanne's was Emnaol, Adrapan, Adna, Zinurza, Oxextra Clear, which is I herein make you cast down, swear your obedience, and vomit weeping. And that doesn't happen here. I would assume it's because it's a summon which is very heavily integrated into cutscene. And kind of can't be shifted out. It's the same reason why, as we will see later on during the fight with Acia, you will hear Bayonetta's voice when summoning Labalus and Hydra to try and take down Acia, because it's part of a cutscene. Which is very important to note. So I have to say, I am quite the fan of Jeanne in the nun outfit. I think it suits her quite well, particularly with the glasses down. Like, Jeanne doesn't wear her glasses at all if she can help it. Like, as you can see, she always kind of has them up here. But her glasses suit her, I have to say. Probably one of the few characters who, you know, can pull off bright red glasses. Because I don't think that many people can actually successfully wear that type of thing. As it's probably one of the weirdest conversational topics Well, it's not the weirdest conversational topic I've had to kind of... or decided to deal with. That was probably explaining that they shrunk Jeanne's boobs and butt for this game. Which I still can't quite believe that they were that kind of, well, at least Hideki Kamiya was that intent on being very specific. Because, I mean, I guess it doesn't prove that he is quite the pervert, but it won't stop me from loving his games. Because, to be very close, they're really, really good. Like, I have no idea what that Noatun is. I know I said it was Pidi Berma in the last part, and it may very well be that, but I can't find any proof that that exists as an Noatun phrase, let alone what it means. So, it might just be a really weird way of saying Ivarma. Although that might not even be an Noatun phrase. I think we just have to ask, like, Platinum Games what the Noatun is to get an actual proper answer. But either way, I know I was talking about Hideki Kamiya and just loving his games in general, but I believe it's very, very, very important to note that what I am attempting here is to get the Bewitchment for beating Jet Fighter Assault with taking down every single enemy, which is a massive challenge, and it's not easy. The best way that you're going to get through this and I do mean this seriously, is by using the Bracelet of Time. Because essentially what that allows you to do is, obviously, once you have 4 orbs of magic, you can go into Witch Time whenever you like. So you can really, thankfully, just pause things when you have enemies that take a couple more hits to take down. If you want a nice way of getting through everything quicker, it is perfectly fine if you want to switch the Bracelet of Time off for an accessory that will allow you to make use of kind of like the Umbran Climax to make this boss fight go a lot quicker, because otherwise you're going to be here for a while. Because it's slow when you are just mashing away at the button. And this is not me holding it down, this is me mashing. Because the rate of fire just goes up quite a lot. Which it certainly would not be at were I not mashing that wonderful button. Now the challenging bit comes after that particular fight, because you have to face down these guys, and what they obviously do is that they charge at you. Now if you don't kill them in time, then they will fly off the screen and you will not be able to hit them at all, and you will have to redo the entire thing all over again. Something which I most definitely had to face when trying to complete this, which was a ridiculously frustrating thing. It took me maybe 4, 5, 6 tries to complete in the end. It's mostly because it might have been only 3, but I kind of got very kind of sweaty-handed with trying to activate blooming Witch Time with the Bracelet of Time. And with moments like this, where just so close to losing it and enemies just got off the screen and I was screwed. Having said that, thankfully everything should go very swimmingly on this particular mission, because, well, this particular run of the mission, because I had my A game on right now. It vanished by the time I was taking on Aesir, but I had my A game on for this particular bewitchment. It's just like, I'm going to do this, it's going to go well. Sheer grit and determination right there. So having done that, straight back to Bracelet of Time, because obviously the demons are all about to show up, and it gets even more challenging. Obviously it's going to mean that you have really rubbish kind of grades at the end, but I don't care. All I wanted was that bewitchment. Now the reason that I said that it's probably easier to get through killing all the enemies with Boulder, or at least not in the R-Wing, is because of Boulder. Because his slash takes down those guys in 1 hit. And when they are that close to you, they do not stick around for that long. So if you tried to shoot them all, you wouldn't have a lot of time to be able to kill them. So you have to be very careful. Very ridiculously careful. Having said that, the really wonderfully helpful thing is that once you've gotten to the Insidious, then your kind of worry about making sure that all the enemies are dead is pretty much gone. Although, having said that, this particular bit is incredibly stressful because of these bloody Furies. And I thought there was another malicious kind of to the top left, but thankfully there wasn't. But yes, pretty much once these guys are dead and we are properly fighting Insidious, we are safe. We have killed all of the enemies before us, and all that's left to do is just absolutely obliterate this guy. I don't quite know why I wasn't getting any damage in at that particular moment in time. Hitbox is really weird. I mean, I think it might be partially the targeting reticle wasn't on it, so it wasn't kind of aiming in. Something like that, maybe? Not quite sure. And also using Boulder Slash, as I will now call it, makes this part go quite quickly. Boulder's just very powerful. I mean, obviously you can see that in fighting him so many times, but that thing is a demon destroyer. I'm very grateful that we had him on board, because it made my job so much easier. But there we go. The jet fighter assault is complete, and Ace Pile Bewitchment! Oh yes! I'm just geeking out right now because everything's just going so well. It made me really, really, really ridiculously happy. Because, like, I was freaking out about trying to complete that. I thought it's going to go terribly, I'm going to have to give up. And that's going to be really depressing because I want to complete everything and just... I want to show that everything as best I can. And it would be incredibly depressing if I couldn't complete this. But the gods of luck / skill were with me. And it got done. And I believe that at this point, when I was recording, it basically meant that the only things that I had left to do were beat the game on Infinite Climax and beat the super secret ultra hard ultimate boss. And I believe that those were the only two bewitchments remaining. How will I succeed at that? Well, you will just have to see, won't you? Now this is probably an odd thing to bring up during the final boss, but seeing as I've said all there is to say about Acia, I want to just bring up the whole thing of costumes, because obviously there are a lot for Jeanne and they're all identical to the ones that Bayonetta wears. But as I'm hoping that you were able to see throughout the gameplay here, and as you'll be able to see later when you kind of get a more up-close look at all the outfits in the kind of gallery thing. It's really odd, but Jeanne seems to wear a lot of these outfits better. Like, it's really, really bizarre. There's some... I don't know whether it's the long hair that helps, or whether the fact that she's kind of got less going on is kind of means that they're easier to deal with. I think it's the long hair. There's something to do with long hair and the outfits that they chose that just works. Just as like in the first game, the beehive really, really helps things. And I will say that kind of... I really do love the Umbran outfit, or Umbran uniform for this game, because it looks brilliant on both Bayonetta and Jeanne. And it's just like, it's really intricate but really simple, and also they did a phenomenal job on that texture work. Like I remember in, I think it was like the second trailer that we got of Bayonetta 2, because we had the announcement trailer, which was a teaser, which was in the identical style to how they teased the first game, and then we got sort of behind-the-scenes-esque trailer that aired in a Nintendo Direct, or might have been at E3, can't quite remember. And one of the things that got brought up in that was one of the texture artists said something along the lines of, if this is meant to be leather, I want it to actually look like leather. And I think he did a pretty damn good job. Like, pretty damn well. They did a phenomenal job on kind of some of the textures in this game. Obviously, it's nowhere near as high quality textures as you would get on, say, PS4 or Xbox One. But it's still great. And this is kind of a tangent which I don't think I've gone on yet, which is absolutely great. But even though kind of the game is only a marginal step up from Bayonetta 1, I mean, it's quite a big step up from Bayonetta 1, but it looks marginal in the grand scheme of things. But the fact that the Wii U can play all of this at, it's not quite a constant 60 frames per second, it's sort of fluctuating. Sometimes it will be at 60, sometimes it will be down near 40, but it's generally very fluid with only the odd moment of slowdown, so you won't even notice that the frame rate's playing about. But the fact that the Wii U can cope with this when there's so much going on and not chug apart from one or two moments is just insane. And I think it goes to prove something about Platinum, and that's that they will always make the most out of whatever machine they work on. They will always push things to the limit, so even if things don't necessarily always... How shall I put this? If there are certain kind of like... there are certain decisions made that seem like compromises, there we go. If they have to compromise certain things in order to kind of get it to play smoothly but also look great and have a lot going on, then they will take those types of compromises. But kind of the smoothness of the gameplay is kind of integral. And kind of the amount of content is important, and just generally they will use as much as they can. So I suspect, like, when Scalebound eventually comes out, there's going to be certain issues that people have with it kind of mechanically. It's like its frame rate might not be a solid 60 frames per second, but they will have done that so that it all kind of works together. And so that it's sort of a functional, really enjoyable experience. And there will be a ridiculous amount going on in Scalebound. So much so that it will, I would assume, be incredibly impressive that they will have so much going on. So that's kind of Platinum's thing. They like having ridiculously busy games. Ridiculously busy. And it's one of the things that I love them for. Because there's always so much going on in both the gameplay and the visuals, and I would argue that there's a lot going on kind of in the narratives. Whether they intend it to be there or not is a completely different matter. But there's lots of kind of fun intellectual games, fun physical games, and all that sort of jazz. And I believe that I am kind of maybe slightly bringing that up because I was just working on dissertation-y stuff earlier, and that was part of what my argument was, because, as I said, this got included in my dissertation. Just like, yes! And seeing as we're playing as Jeanne, it's particularly wonderful because, so there's the Three Musketeers, whole thing with All for One. Yeah, so there's the All for One thing and the Three Musketeers. The other texts that I discussed in my dissertation, one of them involves a quote. Well, actually, it doesn't involve I don't use the quote, but it's a film that has a quote which references the Three Musketeers. And then the medieval romance that I included is an inspiration for the Three Musketeers. Which is just like, oh my god, that is beautiful. Now, while I do believe that the Noatun is Agraos Tabor Davavago for Omni, I don't know why, but I could have sworn I heard Adrapan. But I don't know, and to be perfectly honest at this point, I don't care. Aesir is dead! And fair warning, if you miss that particular thing, you will get a game over. So make sure you get him Aesir in his mouth. Seriously. You don't want to be refighting, or well, redoing that entire sequence all over again. It's not worth it. But, here we go. First climax is complete! I do like how I managed to get through the entirety of that without actually explaining what happens in first climax, and also something that an item that you get, which is the immortal marionette. But that will be something that I think I will have to cover during my infinite climax run, which is going to be about 3 parts long, so I'm going to have more than enough time to talk about what's different between all the difficulties. But either way, first climax is complete! Yes!